let's talk about Dark Days. Specifically, let's talk about metal. No, not that metal. At least not today. So last week we saw the release of DC's latest event book, Dark Days: The Forge. Also last week we got some new information on Dark Knight's Metal, the miniseries that will spin out of The Forge. Okay, let's back up a minute so I can explain exactly what the hell I'm talking about. This summer, writer Scott Snyder is releasing two one-shot books, one called Dark Days: The Forge, which was released last week, and one called Dark Days: The Casting, which will be released in July. Both books are being co-written with James Tynion IV, and they'll have art by Jim Lee, Andy Kubert, and John Romita Jr. And both books are serving as the lead-up to Dark Knight's Metal, written by Snyder with art by his old Batman buddy, Greg Capullo. Now, all these books are very much Batman-themed. The Forge was very Batman-centric, and Metal will be continuing to build on the themes and ideas that Snyder and Capullo were exploring during their New 52 run of the character. However, it has been made clear that this is a line-wide event that will have major impacts and ramifications throughout the entire DC universe. But let's start with The Forge, because that actually came out. And as good as that book was, it was really all set up. It gave you some background on Hawkman and Hawkgirl, two characters who we haven't seen since Rebirth began. It also hinted at the return of Plastic Man. It showed Mr. Miracle help Batman use one of the cosmic tuning forks from the old Crisis books. And perhaps most shockingly of all, it showed Green Lantern and Duke Thomas discover that Batman has a Joker prisoner inside the Batcave. Yep, a Joker. Remember, in Rebirth, there are 3 Jokers running around, and according to Forge, Batman has one of them already. But nothing really gets explained or resolved. The Forge just says, this is what's happening. And while I haven't read the casting yet, because obviously it's not out, I have a funny feeling that it's going to be very similar. But if these books are leading into Dark Knight's Metal, then this could be the event comic that they're hyping it to be, and then some. Metal is being pitched as a big multiverse event featuring Batman-themed versions of other heroes, all corrupted and evil in their own way. And while it's promised to be a big fun adventure book, Snyder has said that it's going to explore the dark underbelly of the DC multiverse. What's most interesting about Metal, to me at least, is that DC doesn't really do big event books like this anymore, at least not in the same way Marvel does. And if they do it, then they're written by Jeff Johns. This definitely looks and feels different. Aside from the obvious fact that this isn't being written by Jeff Johns, DC is slowly building to Dark Knights, taking baby steps to the event by releasing a one-shot book in June and July before the big one in August. So far, none of DC's main titles have referenced Dark Days or Dark Knights, and while The Forge, Casting, and Metal will all reference what's going on in the DC universe, the other books won't be essential reading to the main miniseries. There won't be any extraneous tie-ins. This is going to stand on its own. Also, despite the presence of the Justice League and the amount of page time Hawkman got in The Forge, this is very much a Batman-centric event, focusing on his mysteries and how it's going to affect his relationships with his teammates. I'm actually excited to see where this goes. I thought it was done with event books, but this seems to be the way to do it. This is dragging me back in. The fact that it's not being written by the usual guy, the fact that it's being kept fairly separate from the rest of the DC lineup, the fact that they're slowly building towards it shows that DC is trying something new with their event books, and maybe just event books in general are going to get a change from this. It definitely seems like a change for the better. Yes, these books have been announced months in advance, but other things like slowly build up to it in every main title and all the main titles crossing over with it don't seem to be a factor. You compare it to something like Secret Empire, which I promise I'm going to talk about very soon one of these days, where every book is tying in with it, every book was leading up to it in its own way, and it just becomes a mess. You got to read 100 books just to understand what the storyline's going for. It's very cumbersome and frankly annoying. So here's hoping DC can buck all event trends with Dark Knight's Metal and the Dark Days books. They already kind of did it with the Rebirth special, so here's hoping they can keep the trend going with this new series. But what do you guys think of this event? Did you enjoy The Forge? Are you excited for Metal? Let me know down below or anywhere on the internet. New videos every Tuesday and Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, Wulff Den Live, always and forever. So subscribe to make sure you catch that. Like this video if you liked it, share it with a friend, and thank you for watching. I will see you next time.